On Father's Day, Padcherka threw me a card that said, "You're not my father, thanks for nothing." She didn't even wait for me to open it. My wife laughed so hard she almost choked on her coffee. "Oh, don't pout, she's right, you really are too touchy." In the evening, I took them to a restaurant where they spent the entire dinner on their phones, whispering and complaining about how boring I was. Not a thank you or a look in my direction. It's been 2 months. Today my wife called 19 times, begging for everything back. You don't expect a greeting card to break you. But that's exactly how it started. My name's Nathan, I'm 41, and for the past 8 years I've been the stepdad to a girl named Mia. I met her when she was 8. She's 16 now. I was there for the scraped knees, the science fairs, the school pickups, the broken curfews. I helped her learn to parallel park. I sat through her soccer games in the pouring rain. I put together furniture for her room at midnight while she slept. I wasn't her dad by blood, but I tried to show up like one. And then came Father's Day. That morning I got up early and made breakfast. Nothing fancy, just scrambled eggs, bacon, toast, but I even sliced up strawberries for the side because Mia used to love that when she was little. I thought maybe that'd spark a smile or at least a nod. My wife, Sarah, wandered into the kitchen around 9:15, glued to her phone, thumb scrolling at lightning speed. She muttered a half-awake morning and kept tapping. Mia didn't come down until almost 11. Didn't say hi? Just dropped an envelope on the table near my plate like it was a bill she didn't feel like paying. No eye contact. No happy Father's Day. She flopped onto the couch, pulled out her phone, and started laughing at TikToks. I stared at the envelope for a second. I'll be honest, I smiled a little. Maybe she didn't show it much, but she remembered. Maybe the card would say something nice. Maybe something like, "Thanks for being there." I opened it. Inside it said, "You're not my real dad. Thanks for nothing." No signature. Just that. I didn't say anything. I just looked up slowly. She was already halfway through a video, earbuds in. I glanced at Sarah. She caught my eye and started laughing. Like, full body laughing. Nearly choked on her coffee. "You have to admit," she said, wiping her eyes, "that's pretty funny." I must have looked stunned because she rolled her eyes and said, "Come on, Nate, lighten up. It's a joke." She's not wrong anyway, you do take things too personally. Too personally? I've been putting $200 a month into Mia's college fund since the day Sarah and I got married. I paid for her braces. I covered the damages after she crashed my car. Twice. I helped her write every single college essay draft so far, even the one where she wrote about how her stepfather's silence made her stronger. But I said nothing. Just sat there with this card in my hand like a moron while they acted like I was invisible. That night, I made a reservation at the nicest restaurant downtown. The kind you have to book weeks in advance. I'd been saving that place for something special. I guess I still thought maybe the day could be turned around. Maybe over dinner we could reconnect. We didn't. Mia said the restaurant was boring. Sarah kept checking her texts and laughing at something on her screen. At one point, Mia leaned over and whispered something to her. They both cracked up. I asked what was so funny. Sarah shook her head. Nothing you'd get. They didn't look at me once the whole night. I paid $140 for that meal. Plus tip. No thank you. No eye contact. The car ride home was dead quiet, except for the sound of Mia's phone buzzing every 5 seconds. That night, Sarah fell asleep within minutes. I lay there staring at the ceiling fan, just listening to the whir, feeling like my life was circling right along with it. 8 years of being the driver, the tutor, the guy who fixed the leaky sink. 8 years of giving up nights out with my friends because Mia had a history test. 8 years of saying, "It's okay, I've got it." And for what? I didn't sleep. Next morning, I sat in the parking lot at work, engine off, and called my brother, Alex. He went through a rough divorce a few years back, one of those messy ones that leaves you a little paranoid about everything. I told him what happened. The card. The dinner. The years of being the invisible man in my own home. He didn't even hesitate. "Dude," he said, "they've been using you. You just finally noticed." That hit me harder than I expected. I sat there, staring at the steering wheel, trying to fight off the heat rising in my chest. I wanted to argue. Say, "No, that's not fair. Sarah works hard too. Mia's just a teenager." But instead, my brain started doing math. I paid for Mia's school trip to Italy last spring. $3,200. I bought Sarah a new MacBook for her real estate work. I've been covering the mortgage on our house in full for the past year. Sarah said she needed to reinvest her commissions. I haven't bought new shoes in almost 3 years. Meanwhile, they get new stuff all the time: clothes, electronics, spa days. And what did I get? Too sensitive. That night, Sarah asked me why I was acting weird. I said I was tired. She shrugged and went back to her phone. She didn't ask again. The next day, I took a personal day at work. I didn't tell Sarah. I booked an appointment with a financial advisor that Alex recommended. I laid it all out. Our joint accounts. The bills I paid. The college fund. The mortgage. The utilities. My advisor listened, took notes, and finally looked at me and said, "You're financing a life you don't seem to be living in." That was it. I walked out of that office with a new goal: stop being their doormat. I didn't blow anything up, not yet. I didn't shout or fight or pack my bags. I just went quiet, observed, watched, and I started planning. That was the week everything began to change, not for them yet, but for me. After the meeting with the financial advisor, something shifted in me. I didn't storm out of my life or scream at Sarah. I didn't give any speeches. I just got still, quiet. And in that quiet, I started making moves. Step 1 was simple. I opened a new bank account at a completely different bank. One that didn't have any connections to our joint finances. It took about 15 minutes and a copy of my ID. I set up direct deposit from my job to that account. 3 business days, they said. Next, I went through all of my automatic payments. Anything that was strictly mine, my car, my cell plan, my personal credit card, I rerouted. Subscriptions I never used? Canceled. Shared accounts I was funding alone? Ignored for now. Sarah didn't notice any of it. She was too busy packing for her girls' trip to Scottsdale, which I now suspect had nothing to do with friends and everything to do with someone named Darren from her office. I had seen his name pop up on her phone more than once. I wasn't ready to confront that yet. I just logged it. When she left for the weekend, I moved a few essentials to Alex's guest room. A suitcase with clothes. My work laptop. Important documents. Nothing dramatic. Just enough to not have to go back home for a while. Sarah texted me once that weekend, "Did you feed the cat?" I replied, "Yep." That was it. "No, how are you?" "No, I miss you." Just logistics. Alex and I stayed up late Friday night, playing old video games and drinking beer like we used to in college. Around 1 a.m. he paused the game, looked over at me and asked, "If you could wake up tomorrow and be single, no guilt, no mess, would you do it?" It took me a while to answer. Finally, I said, "I don't know." But I did know. I just didn't want to say it out loud. By the time Monday rolled around, my new direct deposit had kicked in. The first paycheck hit my private account, and for the first time in years I felt a strange rush, not from the money itself, but from the control. I wasn't just handing over every dime to a system that drained me dry anymore. That week, I stopped covering the extras. Didn't fund the Starbucks runs, the new outfits, the sushi lunches. I paid the mortgage. It was still in my name after all, but nothing else. I let the joint account sit untouched. Bills started bouncing. Mia's tuition payment didn't process. That's when the text started. "Hey, card got declined. Weird, right? Did you forget to pay the electric?" Mia's school just emailed me, "What's going on? Why aren't you picking up?" I didn't answer. I wasn't trying to play games. I just didn't owe explanations to people who had treated me like furniture. By the second week, it got more intense. Sarah called my job. Left a message asking them to have me call home. I told HR it was a family issue and everything was fine. They didn't ask more. That night, she sent me a string of messages ranging from angry to frantic. "Are you okay? Why are you doing this? This isn't funny anymore. I swear to God if you don't answer." I finally replied, "I'm safe. I'm taking time to think." Silence for 4 hours. Then, "Come home. We'll talk. Please." Instead, I bought myself a smartwatch. Just something small. Nothing extravagant. But the act of buying it for myself with my own money felt like reclaiming something. Dignity, maybe. Or just proof that I still existed as a person, not a utility. 3 weeks in, the school sent another email. Mia's tuition was still unpaid. Sarah forwarded it to me with nothing but a question mark. No explanation. "No, can we talk?" I didn't answer. I wasn't trying to punish anyone. I just needed to see what they would do without me. Who they were without my money, my presence, my silent support. Sarah started calling every night. I let it go to voicemail. Once she left one crying, saying Mia was asking about me. I didn't believe her. Another time she threatened to call the cops. I just texted, "I'm not missing. I'm thinking." I spent the next week reworking my financial footprint. Talked to Alex again. Talked to the advisor. I made sure I wasn't doing anything illegal, but I also made sure I wasn't tied to expenses that didn't serve me. I learned my name was on everything, the house, both cars, even the cable bill. Her credit had been awful when we got married, so everything was in my name for convenience. Well, it wasn't convenient anymore. At the end of that week, I agreed to meet Sarah in public. A coffee shop near Alex's. Neutral ground. I didn't want drama. She showed up looking rough. Not in a mean way, just tired. Her hair in a bun, no makeup, eyes red-rimmed. She sat down without saying anything at first. Then she said, "What's happening to us?" I pulled out my tablet. On the screen was a spreadsheet. Column A, every monthly expense I had covered. Column B, every one she had. Column C, our respective incomes. She stared at it. Didn't speak. Just kept reading. Then she said the one thing that made me want to laugh. "You're being controlling." Controlling? For pulling back my money. For no longer funding her lifestyle. I asked her why she hadn't increased her contribution when she started making more. Why I was still covering the same 80% I'd always covered. Why she thought a Father's Day joke like that was even remotely okay. She didn't have answers. I slid another document across the table, a breakdown of what I'd spent on Mia over 8 years. Private school, tutors, summer camps, braces, phones, everything. Finally, Sarah looked up and asked, "What do you want?" And I told her. Respect. Appreciation. Fairness. And boundaries. If I didn't get them, I wasn't coming back. She looked like she might cry, but for the first time, I didn't care if the tears were real or not. I stood up, looked her in the eyes, and said, "The ball's in your court, Sarah." After that coffee shop meeting, I didn't go back home. Not yet. Instead, I returned to Alex's guest room, where my clothes hung in his closet and my laptop sat on the little desk we'd dragged out of his garage. I told Sarah I needed time. She didn't argue, not then. Maybe because she thought I'd cave. Maybe because she didn't realize how far I'd already pulled away. The next few days were strange. I started going back to the house during the day while they were both out, grabbing the rest of my stuff little by little. My tools, my favorite hoodie, a few books. I even changed the passwords on our shared streaming services, Netflix, Hulu, Spotify. Petty? Probably. But I can't lie, it felt good. I also started making calls. I took my name off the utility bills and let them transfer to her. Canceled subscriptions we hadn't used in months. Things I used to maintain without a word. Without thanks. Not anymore. Sarah's texts started shifting. Less anger, more panic. "We need to talk. I'm trying here. Please answer." Then, out of nowhere, a message from Mia. "When are you coming home?" It was the first time she'd reached out to me in over a month. I just stared at the screen for a while, then typed back, "I'm still figuring that out." A few days later, I got an email from Sarah with a budget spreadsheet attached. Her attempt to show me she was serious. But her numbers still put 70% of the expenses on me. "Nice try." I replied with my own version, 55/45 split, based on our incomes plus a few non-negotiables. She contributes monthly to Mia's college fund. Family therapy twice a month. If Mia wants extras, dance lessons, new clothes, concerts, she gets a part-time job. And finally, full honesty about her friend from work. She didn't respond for 2 days, then just sent back, "Fine. When are you coming home?" I didn't reply right away. Truth was, I wasn't sure I wanted to come home. At Alex's, I slept better, played video games again, ate junk food without judgment. I wasn't walking on eggshells. I didn't feel like an accessory in someone else's life. But another part of me missed the routine, missed the sound of the house in the morning, missed even Mia's sarcasm and eye rolls. As much as it hurt, that place still felt like home. Eventually, I texted Sarah, "I'll stop by Saturday. We'll talk." All 3 of us. Saturday came. I drove over with Alex, who waited outside in the car just in case things went sideways. When I walked into the house, it felt foreign, like I was stepping into a memory. Sarah had made lasagna, my favorite. The table was set. Mia was actually sitting there, not holed up in her room. The place looked cleaner than I'd seen it in months. We sat down. The conversation was tense from the start. Sarah cried. Real tears, maybe. Hard to tell. She kept saying she missed me, that things got out of hand, that she was willing to try. Mia stayed quiet, mostly looking at her plate. But I saw her glance at me a few times. I laid out my terms again. Printed spreadsheets. Everything in black and white. No vague promises. No, we'll figure it out. I wanted structure, respect, boundaries. Sarah agreed to everything. Too easily, honestly. That was a red flag. But I kept going. I said I wouldn't sign up for any more of Mia's activities unless she asked me directly and respectfully. That I needed a home office space that was off limits unless invited. That we'd do family dinners twice a week, no phones. And that I wasn't moving back in immediately. I'd come for dinner on Wednesdays to see how things were going. Sarah nodded through it all, smiled, hugged me as I was leaving, whispered that she was sorry and she missed me, felt rehearsed, like she'd practiced it in the mirror. Mia gave me an awkward side hug. Still, that was progress. Over the next couple of weeks, I slowly brought some of my things back. Spent one night at the house, then 2, then 5. Wednesday dinners turned into Friday nights watching movies. I wasn't fully home yet, but it looked like maybe we were building something new. And then the other shoe dropped. I was working from home one afternoon. Sarah had forgotten to log out of her email on our shared tablet. I wasn't snooping, I swear. A notification popped up while I was using the browser. Subject: Loan approval confirmation. I clicked. It was a personal loan. $25,000. Taken out in her name. Approved just days earlier. She hadn't said a word about it. I started digging. Checked credit card statements. Ones I still had access to. I found hotel charges from months ago. Restaurants we'd never been to together. Lyft rides at weird hours. And then I found it, the payment to a divorce attorney. Dated 6 weeks before Father's Day. Before the card. Before the restaurant. Before I stopped paying for everything. She'd been planning to leave. I sat there in total silence. My hands were cold. My jaw locked up. I think part of me always knew deep down. But seeing it in black and white was something else. I didn't confront her right away. Instead, I called Alex. Called my advisor. Made moves I won't detail here because, frankly, it's still ongoing. But I protected myself. Legally. Financially. Then I got in the car. As I pulled into the driveway, my phone lit up. 15 missed calls from Sarah. A dozen voicemails. The last text said, "Come home. I can explain everything." I sat in the car outside our house for a long time. The same driveway I pulled into 1,000 times before. But this time it felt like I was about to walk into someone else's life. The flower pots I planted in the spring were wilted. The garage still had that dent Sarah swore she'd fix next weekend. The house looked unchanged, but I wasn't. When I walked in, Sarah was pacing the kitchen, hair messy, still in her workout clothes. The moment she saw me, she froze. "Nate," she said, like the name alone was supposed to fix something. She launched into a rambling speech, something about how the loan was for her mother's medical bills, the same mother who called me a dull placeholder at Thanksgiving 2 years ago, how the attorney consult was just to get information, how she'd been feeling insecure about where we stood. I didn't say a word. Just stood there, arms folded, while she unraveled. Then I asked her calmly about the hotel stays. The dinners. The car rides. She claimed they were for late showings, client meetings, closing deals. Right? I pulled out my phone and showed her screenshots of texts I'd saved from her tablet. Messages between her and Darren. The hotel suggestions. The jokes about how checked out I was. How easy it would be to make me look like the bad guy when she left. She broke. No fake crying this time. It was the messy, ugly kind. Makeup running, nose running, the kind you can't fake. She admitted it all. Said they'd been talking for a few months. Nothing physical yet, but it was heading there. She planned to leave after Mia's school year ended. The loan? Her way out. A cushion for her to live on while she filed for divorce. She assumed I'd keep paying for everything because that's just the kind of guy you are. And the card? The Father's Day card? That was the start of the distance campaign. A way to push me out emotionally. So that when she finally dropped the bomb, I'd be too defeated to fight back. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because the absurdity of it all, the years of sacrifice, the quiet loyalty, the dinners, the rides, the money, the patience, and this was my thank you? It was too much. I asked the only question that mattered. "Where's Mia?" Sarah said she was at a friend's. I nodded. Good. She didn't need to see this. Then I told Sarah the truth, that I'd known about the divorce lawyer for weeks, that I'd seen the charges. I just hadn't wanted to believe it. I convinced myself it was work-related, that she still loved me, that I was part of this family. She sat down at the table and asked the question I'd been expecting. Are you kicking us out? Are you filing? I didn't answer right away. I asked her instead, are you still seeing him? She looked at the floor. That was enough. I took off my wedding ring, placed it on the table between us and said, I'm staying at Alex's. You have 30 days to figure out your next move. I'm not paying another cent toward anything but the mortgage, and only because my name's still on it. If you want to fix this, it starts with truth. Real truth. And therapy. Otherwise, we're done. She started crying again. What am I supposed to tell Mia? I said, tell her the truth. For once. That night, I slept at Alex's place like a rock, first deep sleep in months. When I woke up, I had 27 unread messages from Sarah. A cocktail of guilt, blame, apologies, and begging. I ignored them all. But the one message I didn't ignore was from Mia. Just 6 words. Is it true Mom was leaving you? I sat there staring at it for a long time. I could lie. I could shield her. But hadn't that been the problem all along? I replied. Yes. I just found out too. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Then came her response. That's messed up. Coming from Mia, that was practically an emotional monologue. Within days, Sarah moved most of her stuff into her friend's guest room. Not Darren's, interestingly. I guess he wasn't so eager to start a life together when it got real. Mia, to my surprise, chose to stay with me. I moved back into the master bedroom. Changed the locks. Changed the Wi-Fi. Little wins. Quiet ones. Therapy began a week later. Family sessions with a no-nonsense woman named Dr. Fulton, who reminded me of my high school math teacher, firm, direct, not interested in anyone's excuses. Sarah tried to play victim in the first session. Talked about how our marriage had been cold. Dr. Fulton cut through it fast. Then came the bombshell. When the Father's Day card came up, Dr. Fulton asked Mia, did you write that yourself? Mia hesitated. Sarah's face turned red. Turns out Sarah told Mia to write that. Told her I was going to leave them anyway. That she needed to protect herself emotionally. She'd been turning Mia against me for months. Even Dr. Fulton sat back in her chair and let the silence speak. That night, Mia and I ate pizza on the couch. She'd just come home from her first weekend shift at a clothing store. She collapsed beside me and said, people are the worst. I laughed and slid her the last slice. That was the first real conversation we'd had in ages. Weeks passed. Sarah and I agreed on a formal separation. She got a small apartment nearby. Took on a second job. Started attending therapy on her own. Not for me, she said, but because she wanted to be better. Mia spent more time with me than with Sarah. One day, she knocked on my home office door and handed me a card. Homemade. Just said sorry on the front. Inside. I shouldn't have written that. Mom told me to. But I still did it. You didn't deserve that. Thanks for not leaving me too. I choked up. We painted her room the next weekend. She wanted to get rid of the baby pink and go for a bold teal. We played music, got more paint on ourselves than the walls. It felt like healing. Then, one night, Sarah came by after Mia had gone to bed. Sat at the same kitchen island we used to eat breakfast at. Said she ended things with Darren. Was going to therapy twice a week. Started a financial literacy class. Said she wasn't trying to win me back, just trying to fix what was broken in her. Then she asked, do you think there's any chance for us? I didn't know what to say. I told her I appreciated the effort. That I hoped she kept doing the work. But trust once broken, it's hard to repair. I needed time. Maybe a lot of it. She nodded. Said she understood. As she left, she turned and said, that card on Father's Day, I think about it all the time. I knew it would hurt you. I just didn't care enough then to stop it. I hate the version of me. 6 weeks later, here we are. Still separated. Still in therapy. Mia's doing better, working, making friends, even joking with me again. Last week she hugged me without prompting. Progress. Sarah suggested we go back to that same restaurant, the one from Father's Day, for a kind of do-over. This time, no phones. She paid the bill. Small steps. I don't know if we'll reconcile. Maybe some things break for good. But here's what I know. Being kind doesn't mean being weak. Being a provider doesn't mean being invisible. And walking away isn't the same as giving up. Mia asked me last night if I regret marrying her mom. I said no. Because those 8 years gave me you. She rolled her eyes and said, that's so cheesy. Then she hugged me. And didn't let go for a while. That was enough.